This is the SBR betting roundtable for Wednesday, December 26th. Donnie Rightside, Jeff Nadeau, Ian Cameron. I am Drew Martin. We're hitting on college basketball, college football, a little NHL, and NFL, plus best bets at the end of the show. Guys, this is the last roundtable for Wednesday, 10 o'clock a.m., at least in its current form. What's on your minds? What's on your sports betting minds? And Merry Christmas to y'all. One day late, but Donnie Rightside, follow him on Twitter at RightSideVP. Donnie, what's on your mind, bud?
Yeah, let's circle the wagons one more time today. Nice, easy winner last week that we did give out here on the show. Let's see if we can propel it forward to one final, bang, because a lot of debit cards out there. There's a lot of credit cards. A lot of stuff was sacrificed over the past 2 weeks here for the greater good of your family and your family's happiness. So let's get one back here. We'll have a good time over the next hour, see what it is. Bowl games, NFL Week 17, interesting ins and outs here. We'll have some fun here on the roundtable as usual.
Absolutely, Donnie. And you've been hot with best bets. Hopefully keep it going. His partner in crime, Jeff Nadeau. Follow him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. He's the big man on campus. Big man, welcome in. How are you?
Always good, Drew. Merry Christmas. Thanks for having me. I'm going to tell you this, and I might get a lot of shit for this. I don't really care. The fact that this show is ending is a shame. I think this is one of the best shows on the channel here. You and I and Ian and Donnie have provided a lot of great content over the years for people, and I think it's a shame that we can't at least keep this show around. It's once a week. It's worth it, and I'm going to miss doing it. You and I, Drew and Ian, we're kind of the originals. We brought Donnie in as well, and he's been here for a while. I think it's a shame, to be honest. This is a great show, and I think it'll be missed.
Well, I've enjoyed working with you, Jeff. I agree with you. It's a great show. Caught me as surprise, and we just got to give him a good show. The grand finale, man. Hopefully some good best bets at the end. And last, certainly not least, Ian Cameron. Follow him on Twitter at Babano. Ian, welcome in.
It's been a great, great ride doing this show on a weekly basis. I can remember when we started it out, and it was actually a college basketball only roundtable show. And that was like late 2016. And it was me, it was Big Man, it was Drew, and it was Ed Fang who would be part of that with us doing that show. And that's really the genesis of where it began. And we enjoyed doing it. It was college basketball only till we got through the tournament. And then the season ended. We're getting great feedback on the show. And people are basically saying, well, what's going to happen to the roundtable with college basketball season? That's when we made that decision to extend it year-round. Keep it going every week through the spring and summer and make it just an all-sports betting roundtable show instead of just college basketball. Donnie obviously came in, I believe, in the middle of that college basketball season and joined the CBB roundtable at that. He stuck around and did the sports betting roundtable. Ed, obviously, he doesn't follow some summer sports as much, so it then became us four, mostly with the sports betting roundtable after the college basketball season ended, which was, I think, April 2017. And so you look at it, we're talking over 2 years about that we've had this roundtable show going in some way, shape, or form. Sad day to see it end, but you know what? We're going to go out with a bang. We're going to go out with one last final hurrah and deliver one last great show here on the roundtable.
Well said, Ian. And guys, it's been a pleasure working with all three of you. And hopefully we can continue it in some form or fashion. But let's get into the nuts and bolts of the show, guys. Starting off with college basketball. Big man on campus knows it as good as anybody. That's the sport of college basketball, that is. Information, betting-wise. Big man, can you give us one bet on team, maybe one bet against team, and your overall thoughts as far as betting college basketball in the marketplace after this break? A lot of teams take multiple days off, a week off at times, even more for some of these college basketball teams. What are you looking for to get out in front of the betting markets?
Well, you're going to have one more non-conference game, maybe two more for these teams, and then it's into the conference season, which for many is the best time of the year. It's a fun time of the year. The matches become a little bit more, as far as easier to handicap, you kind of get to know things. But as far as a team to bet on, you got to keep betting on this team, Oklahoma. I've been throwing this flag around for a long time. I love this team. I think they're terrific. I think they could really be a team that in the Big 12 could win this conference, make a nice run in the tournament. The Trae Young team is gone. It's a long cry from where they were last year. This team has been just a giant kill. I mean, every team they played that they have to beat, they've beaten, other than Wisconsin. Other than that, it's just been a smooth ride. what's been good for them this year has been they've gotten into defense. You look at the defensive numbers, and they're terrific. Some of their efficiency numbers are top 5 in the country. They're only giving up 66 points a game. Offensively, they've been awesome as well. They're sharing the basketball. There's been a lot more, passing the basketball, getting good shots, creating opportunities. That wasn't there last year. That's one of the reasons they're 10-1 against the spread, because their offense has been efficient, and they've put in a little bit more on the defensive end. I mean, there's not a lot of things this team doesn't do correctly. They rebound the ball well. They shoot foul shots. They're well coached. They're a team that I'm very interested in. I actually took at 200-1 to win the national title. I think they have a team here that's going to continue to fall down a little bit as far as the numbers concerned, and you're going to have to try to catch up quick, because I think the markets are going to catch up as conference play gets here. Team to fade, and I hate to say this because I really like this group, and I know Ian does as well, but I'm going to fade St. Louis. I mean, I just don't want to bet them in a favorite role. They're a hunted team as opposed to being the hunter. Last year, they were an underdog in a lot of games. Now this year, you look at being a favorite, they're 2-7 against the spread. They're not suitable to be a favorite. They're a team that's very good on defense, but they struggle and become complacent at times on offense. They only have 3 double-digit scores. That's been a problem this year for Travis Ford's team. And as we get into conference play, I think you're going to have to lay more numbers with them, against the LaSalles and against the Fordhams and teams like that. They're going to have to cover and lay points. I'm not really looking to do that with St. Louis. For me, last year, you get them in 6-7 point dogs, and it was great. But you see when they step up a competition, they're having a lot of trouble, and they've yet to really win a step-up game other than Butler. So, for me, I don't want to lay points to St. Louis. I'm going to have to do that once we get into conference play.
Well said, Big Man. And Ian, any follow-up to that? Big Man did mention you like the St. Louis team. Any follow-up whatsoever in college basketball?
No, they got boat raced by Florida State on the weekend. I mean, that game was over after the first 5 minutes when they went, I think the first 10 minutes with 8 points on the board. It was a bad day for them. I agree. The favorite role was never St. Louis's role in the Travis Ford era 2 seasons ago. Last season, they were terrible laying points. It's probably going to be that way again, because they're going to be highly regarded in that conference. They're going to be laying points in a lot of games, and you're right. That could be a team you fade in that role. Once again, they play great defense, but other than Javon Best, there's not a lot there offensively that they can hang their hat on, and that's a big-time issue for them. It's hilarious that Hal Abrahams in the chat mentions Marquette, because that would be a bet-on team for me right now, the Marquette Golden Eagles, because they are playing some defense. I think that is something that's kind of gotten away from this team in years past. Defensively, they've not been great, but I think you're starting to see this team play better defensively, and we know Marcus Howard is one of those guys that you just give him the ball, you can score from anywhere on the basketball court. Saw that against Buffalo last week. Marquette, a team to watch out for, I think, in Big East play this season. Finally playing some defense. That was their Achilles heel. 68 points per game allowed this season. Their defensive efficiency numbers have improved from where they were a season ago. So I think Marquette's got some positive things to get behind moving forward. One thing I'm going to advise the listeners and watchers about now that we're getting into conference play, and I've said this many times, the teams that are ATS machines in the non-conference schedule in November and December, those aren't necessarily going to be teams that you're profitable with in January when conference season begins. Familiarity is a lot more with the matchups. Coaches know strengths and weaknesses of opposing teams now that you play these teams every year. So you're going to see some of these point spread juggernauts, I believe, early in the season that have been great against the number so far. Watch them have losing point spread marks in conference season. And if you can identify those quickly and early in conference play, you can make some money going against those teams that are overvalued based on their strong non-conference results.
Good stuff, Ian. And guys, in the chat box, this is the last round table, at least, as far as I know, for forever. But who knows? Reach out to us on social media. The SBR handle, or at Jeff Nadeau, at RightSideVP, at Babano, myself at Drew Martin. Let us know what you guys want to hear about and the show going forward. But and in the chat box, if you guys want to hear anything like specifically today's sports games, or even anything this week, we'll be happy to hit on it or try to fit it in. Guys, we got to get to college football here. We got 2 games today, 1 game tomorrow. We'll all try to get to. We got the Serve Pro First Responders Bowl. Not the best named bowl game, but either way,
there is no
it's a bowl
good
game.
names, Drew. There is no good names with these early bowls. They all stink. Bell Helicopters Bowl, Gasparilla Bowl, Bad Boy Mowers Bowl.
The Gasparilla's Bowl is good, though. The Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl, that's my favorite, Ian.
It's brutal. What happened to just the Cotton Bowl, the Sugar Bowl? You know, the beautiful short names, those classic bowl names. No, now it's all corporations and dollars involved.
All right, well, this one is at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. Guys, we do have 15-mile-an-hour winds. Just checked it before the show. Looks like 50% chance of rain at kickoff. However, it gets more as the game goes on. Both of these two teams, 7-5 ATS. It's Boston College from the ACC versus Boise State from the Mountain West. Boise laying 2.5, 50.5 the total. I would say the weather's helping the BC side, though. I did like the Boise side to start. Donnie, what's your thoughts on the Serve Pro First Responders Bowl?
Yeah, no, I think you're on to something with that because, you know, before I wagered on this football game a week ago, I'm looking at this saying, look, what are some of the added advantages that you can get right here? Number one would be the weather, up to 20-mile-an-hour winds, rain coming into there. It's on grass, so it's going to slow it down. Where I know BC does play on turf, but if you're looking at both of these football teams, one team is bigger, faster, and stronger, obviously coming from a Power 5 conference. You get a little bit of rain and wind on that type of surface, then you're going to rely on what? A mobile quarterback and a jackhammer running back. Also another interesting, side note in this football game, if we're looking, both of these teams are talented. Boise State's a really good football team. Boston College slid a little bit towards the end of the season, but I think there were some, wrongs that they can certainly make up for. The one thing I do like from the BC side is they're going to be bigger up front on the offensive side of the ball. And let's not forget, if A.J. Dillon does not get hurt in the second half versus Temple this year, where does he end up? 2,000 yards, 2,200 yards on the season? Now completely healthy and ready for this bowl game with some rain and wind. And also, let's not forget, Rippon's a great quarterback from Boise State. He's an accurate quarterback. But if you throw in 20-mile-an-hour winds and some rain, how accurate is he? When you're looking at Brown from Boston College, what do you want out of this kid? Run a little RPO stuff. Get outside the pocket. Run around. Use those big tight ends for Boston College. Also healthy on the defensive side of the football. I'll take the points in this football game. I think you're going to get a rejuvenated A.J. Dillon that puts up 150-plus yards today and really dominates on the ground in that bad weather conditions.
Big man, how are you looking to bet the Serve Pro First Responders Bowl?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting game. I mean, I think the wind will be a factor. Obviously, 17-mile-an-hour winds. Pretty bad, not terrible. I mean, I'm not worried about precipitation. That's not going to start till later in the day. Look, I like Boise. I'm not going to lie. I've liked this team all year. I don't really see a reason to get off them now. But these are a matchup of great running backs here. I mean, Dillon is great. I mean, that's a good point. What he could have been without an injury. I'm a big Madison guy as well. To me, I'll just take the more dependable quarterback. The one thing I will worry about, though, is Boise State does have some important people not in this game. I mean, John Hightower's out, he's a pretty decent receiver for them. He's out for, I believe, academics. Khalil Shakir as well. They have some injuries, or not injuries, from suspensions, so that's a concern. But I don't know. I've seen Boise shut down opposing running backs. I've seen Boise shut down opposing offenses. I think they're, a team that has played in. The only thing that concerns me is I've seen Boise in bad weather before and it didn't go well. That was snow. I don't really have a big interest in this game. I'm sure Donnie has a bit more of one. I'll take Boise just because I bet on them all year and I like this group. I think Harson's a guy that will have this team prepared, and I want Madison on my side. But I think if you could shut Dillon down, I don't really know what Boston College really has, to be honest.
Yeah, they did struggle in bad weather, like you said, but I'm not really sure if this is going to be as bad of weather. I think Rippon still might be able to throw the ball downfield, therefore helping the Broncos side. So it kind of depends at kickoff. Maybe check this weather out a little bit closer towards kickoff. We got about almost 4 hours till that. But Banno, what's your thoughts on Boise State, Boston College?
Yeah, I have to give a disclaimer right away. It's just unfortunately the way it's gone with the way the games are the games that we're talking about on this show. Most of my bigger action and most of my stronger opinions are going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday bowl games. Unfortunately, I hate today's card in the college football bowl games. I really do. But that's okay. I'm going to give out an opinion anyway. If I had to play this one, I'd look at Boston College just because of you're right. What if the wind kicks up a little bit in this football game? Who's it going to affect more? It could affect Boise more. I've never been like the BC passing game. I've said that many times this season. Anthony Brown is not a big-time deal at the quarterback spot. If they can't run the football, they can't have success. That's been the key with Boston College all season long. I think, obviously, the passing game means a lot more to Boise State with Brett Rippon, a much more effective passing game. Sean Modster, Richardson, two great receivers there for Boise State in that passing attack, and the wind might hamper them a little bit more throwing the football because it's a bigger part of their offense throwing the ball than it is for Boston College. That's something to keep in mind here in this game. Boston College, the key for them is can they run? That's also a concern. Why, I lean Boston College, but it's hard for me to pull the trigger. They got to be able to run the ball. Well, you're talking about a Boise run defense. It's not just been good this season. It's been great. A defense that against the run this season is allowing just 123 yards per game, 3.7 yards per carry. Now, okay, you could say some of that's skewed by a weak Mountain West schedule. Not the greatest quality of running backs, maybe. Not the greatest quality of opponents, for sure. But still a stout defensive front. And if there's any sort of win that the Boise State defensive front can have in the trenches against Boston College here to negate the impact of A.J. Dillon, it's always difficult for me to trust the passing game of Boston College to do anything without a running game to rely on. So it's a very tricky handicap, but I'll lean slightly to Boston College here.
And with the best comments so far in the chat box, we got Ryan C. saying, I might need a first responder if I lose this game. Good one there, Ryan. We got next game up, Cal TCU in the Cheez-It Bowl. This one in Chase Field in Arizona. Keep in mind, this is the Diamondback Stadium there. It is a baseball stadium. 9 p.m. Eastern kick. It is a pick'em right now. You might see -1 at some places on SBR odds. 38 the total. Not a lot of offense projected in this one, guys. Big man, you want to start us off with Cal TCU thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, listen, TCU, you'd have to wonder like where their heads at in this game. I mean, I guess they want to finish off a winning season, and look, I still think Gary Patterson's a good coach. They won 9 of the last 12 bowl games. They're a good bowl team, but it doesn't just seem like a game where this team will just kind of collapse and choke. I mean, they've not really shown much in the second half of the season. They've went through a few different quarterbacks. I guess this Grayson Molstein is the new quarterback. I think they do probably have the best playmaker on the field in Jalen Rieger. I'm not sure that Cal can score points in this game. I mean, how many times did we see them in games this year and they choked it away because they couldn't score any points? I'll be honest. I feel like TCU has a playmaker or two more than Cal does. This is probably the worst bowl game on the card. I mean, to be really honest with you, I'm going to say something else. These bowl games are complete trash. They're complete garbage. I thought we'd at least find something to find and sink our teeth into, have some fun with some of these, but I mean, they have mostly been horrible. I mean, really bad. 70-14 in a fucking bowl game. I mean, you got to be kidding me. That is absolute disgrace that you allowed that to happen against a football team that plays the same sport as you do in the same division you do. You gave up 70 points in a bowl game? Give me a break. These bowl games stink. This one's going to be suck as well. I'll take TCU just because I think, to be honest, I think they have a little bit more talent. I trust Patterson defensively, and I just don't ever trust Cal to score enough points. They've been a good team, and Wilcox is a rising star, but I don't know. I don't trust them to score enough points. This is going to be an ugly game.
Yeah, ugly. It's here in the total. Since Robinson, I guess, he was injured a lot of the season, I was betting against TCU. But now since the extra practices, newish quarterback, young guy, I don't know. I almost think that they're a bet on. And Big Man mentioned the Patterson bowl record, 9-3, I believe it is. But Vano, do you think that this bowl game sucks, like Big Man said?
It's not a good one. That's for sure. I mean, what makes it worse is that they put this one in the primetime slot tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And it's probably the worst one of today. It gets the primetime treatment. But that's the way it goes. We'll have to make do with it. Be careful with the Gary Patterson straight-up track record, because against the spread, he's 2-7 against the spread in his last 9 bowl games. So all they have to do is win. That's true. He's been laying points in a lot of these bowl games. That's not the case here in this game. So you got to be careful with, okay, does the straight up or the ATS mean more to you? because now he's in a price range that he's not very often in bowl games, and that is obviously in a pick 'em range where he's just got to win the game. This is tough because I like Cal. I've always liked Cal. I like Justin Wilcox a lot as a head coach, but I lost a bet with Cal in the season finale against Stanford. That game was there to be had. All that's required is a halfway competent and not inept quarterback. Unfortunately, Cal doesn't have that. Chase Garbers, he's Chase Garbage. All right, Chase Garbage. You should call him the quarterback for Cal. He was brutal. He was absolutely pathetic in that game against Stanford. They had so many opportunities to win that game, and to see him piss it away with bad decisions and one interception after another, throwing into traffic, throwing into double coverage, amateur mistakes, and ruin the game for Cal. And Cal's defense kept KJ Costello, Bryce Love, Sega Whiteside, and that Stanford offense in check for most of that game. They just couldn't get any sort of offense going. That's my concern here. In a game where you've got to win the game to cover the number, at some point you got to move the ball, put up points, and have a quarterback that can make some throws. I don't know if he made one single good throw in that loss to Stanford, Chase Garbers, and that's my concern. Say what you will about TCU. They've had a dreadful season. Defensively, it's not been great for them. They've been picked apart at times. The quarterback play has been very, very shoddy. But now they go to Grayson Bullstein, the quarterback here for TCU. We'll see if it gives them a spark, if it gives them some life. That's going to be the interesting thing to watch here in this game. He's a youngster, Grayson Muhlstein. We'll see if he can handle it. We'll see if the players maybe rally around Muhlstein a little bit now that he's assumed the quarterback spot. And let's be honest, he can't be any worse than anybody TCU had before that. The question is, this Cal defense isn't going anywhere. They're pretty good. 7-1, I believe, to the under in recent bowl games for TCU as well, if I'm not mistaken. That's a trend I noticed. This is a low total, but it's very, very difficult for me to make a case for this one going up and over. From a side perspective, I lean Cal, but their quarterback plays just was so bad, I'm not going to be pulling the trigger.
We got Darren and Shooter saying the Suck Bowl. Look towards the over. Donnie, what any closing thoughts here, Cal TCU?
Yeah, it's certainly not the greatest bowl or most enticing bowl. You can just tell by the over/under what sort of product that you're going to get out of this. But I like to try to take a look at styles that are coming down the stretch and just the old adage. If you're going to take away two quarterbacks, my top two quarterbacks on TCU and my top two running backs on TCU, and then load up with a defense that's been absolutely insane against the pass. Outside of Mike Leach in the air raid going for 334, Stanford 237, Colorado 170, USC 180, Washington 159, Oregon State 146, UCLA 141, Arizona 141. There's not going to be a lot of room out there for TCU to make plays. And yes, TCU does have a really good wide receiver, but outside of that one wide receiver, who do they have on that entire offense? So just by, limiting the strategy and by default, I'm going to say, all right, their starters intact, their running backs intact, their their wide receivers are intact for Cal, even though it's not that good. You're going to take away top two for TCU. I'm just going to lean on Cal just by default in this football game and say, you're already limited on talent, and now you're going on third stringers, which always leads me into the next thing. All right, so you're down your top two quarterbacks. Let's just say your starter now goes out for TCU. Are you putting in the punter at quarterback? Who's even going to play at that point if your starter goes down? I'll just lean Cal here because they're the more healthy squad heading into this football game.
I have to correct one thing. I said 7-1 under in the bowl games recently for TCU. It's 7-1 under for Cal their last 8 games overall. That's the trend. Yep. So Cal's been a big time under team, but how many times have they had a total in the high 30s this low? Not very often.
And guys, we had a couple guys ask, did we skip Minnesota, Georgia Tech? We didn't have a plan. We only have so much time. But does anybody? I guess Georgia Tech laying now 57.5 the total. This is a tricky handicap just because it's extra time to prepare for the option. I would say the more talented team in Georgia Tech, but they do have a coaching change. Big man, anything off the cuff here, Georgia Tech, Minnesota, you're looking to bet?
No.
Okay. Donnie, anything from you?
Yeah, not a great one. I'm still waiting on the dozen suspensions that Minnesota's going to have. So I guess true to your MAC, background with PJ Fleck, I assume you'll see the guys in hoodies right at game time and they say, hey, 10 starters are down for Minnesota, but they hid that pretty well. So I don't want any part of this game with 10 suspensions coming, and I don't really know who they are.
Okay. And Ian, anything from you on Minnesota, Georgia Tech?
Most of the coaching change situations are bet against situations for me. Temple is one of them. That's a bet against situation for me with them. This one's not with Georgia Tech here in this particular game. because it's a different kind of coaching change situation. It's not a guy saying, you know what, I'm out, I'm going somewhere else, I'm going to a more prestigious job, I'm going to a bigger program. That's not this coaching change. This is Paul Johnson retiring. He's calling it a day. This is a guy that's been at Georgia Tech a long time. I think the players at Georgia Tech are certainly going to rally around it. Very well liked coach. I think you get a big effort from them. It's kind of disappointing, Drew, because P.J. Fleck had a good track record in bowl games at Western Michigan. He did well in them. He's a bet-on coach usually for me in bowl games overall. He's now got Minnesota this year in their first bowl game, or second bowl game. I think he took them to the one Washington State, and they won that game about a couple of years ago. So he's a very, very good bowl coach, PJ Fleck. So it's very tricky. I think Georgia Tech brings max effort, intensity, focus for Paul Johnson in his final game. I think Minnesota brings that as well. But the black cloud hanging over Minnie is the suspensions. We don't know who it's going to be. Is it going to be starters? Is it going to be impact players? We don't know. And until we get that information streamlining in, it's hard to make a bet on this game. Right now, I'd lean Georgia Tech, but we'll see where if Minnesota has more of their starters playing, because I think you're going to get effort from both teams, and I think Minnesota will bring it too. But if there's key starters missing for Minnie, I'd lean Georgia Tech.
All right, let's get one more bowl game in here before we get to the NFL. We got 237-238 Miami, Wisconsin. This is the New Era Pinstripe Bowl in Yankee Stadium, New York, New York. This is also the Money Burner Bowl. If you've been betting these two teams, you've been losing a lot of money. Wisconsin, most notably, 3-9 ATS, one of the worst heading into bowl season. ACC versus Big Ten. We got the warm weather team, the Miami Hurricanes, heading up to New York in late December. That's not a situation I'm looking to bet on, guys. I like the Badgers here, catching 3. We got Miami laying -3 across the board at SBR odds, 47.5 the total. Donnie, you want to start us off here, Hurricanes, Badgers?
Yeah, it should be an interesting one to, I guess, just because it's on.
Did you guys lose them?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Big man, what do you like in Hurricanes, Badgers here?
That's his team, Miami, and we couldn't get to hear him.
Yeah, this is interesting because you do have a cold weather team going up, or a warm weather team going up and playing in Yankee Stadium. We know what Wisconsin's used to. But again, I mean, what are you going to get out of the quarterback position from Wisconsin? We know they have a great running back, but you also have to ask the same question. What are you going to get out of the quarterback position from the Miami Hurricanes? N'Kosi Perry continues to have off-the-field problems. You have to wonder, like, if you're Miami, you have a lot of money in your football program. You have a lot of resources. You need to sit N'Kosi Perry down in a room with his family, with him, and get him some help. I mean, he clearly can't use a cell phone at a high level. He needs to figure out how to figure that out. This is a guy that has posted weird videos. Last week, he posted a picture on Snapchat of him having sex with a girl. Again, it's his fault. It's him doing this stuff. It's not like someone stole his phone and did it. He needs to figure out what he can and cannot do on the internet. It's become kind of a stain on this program and a stain on him as well. And now they have to deal with another problem from him coming into the bowl game. As far as me, though, I mean, you look at this game. I mean, I don't really know what you're excited about here. I guess Jonathan Taylor. I think that's the one great thing you have. You have that home run hitter. You have a defense that's generally pretty good. Sharps are betting Miami. I don't really see the reason to bet Miami. I just know how bad their quarterback play is and how I think bad it could be against this defense. You add in the cold weather stuff as well. They've been a money burner. I lean whiskey at this number.
And Ian, what about you? Miami Badgers. What are you thinking about betting this game? N'Kosi Perry with a sex tape. Is that keeping you off the Hurricanes?
I think Miami's inept offense is keeping me off the Hurricanes right here. I mean, it's been bad. I mean, if they can't run the football, it's been really, really bad. N'Kosi Perry, Malik Rozier, it doesn't matter who's been the quarterback for the team this year. It's struggled. There's been no passing game whatsoever. But on the flip side, I've got concerns about Wisconsin offensively in this game. You got Jack Cohn. Now, Jack Cohn does have one thing going for him here. He's a native of Sayville, New York, so he's going to be right close by. He's going to have lots of family, lots of friends there, relatives cheering him on in the Bronx for this game in New York. You got to factor that the cold weather is going to benefit Wisconsin. They're used to it. We've seen Miami. This is another reason why I can't take Miami. It's a Wisconsin or pass game for me. But Miami, cold weather games, what have they done? They laid an egg at Pitt last year, late in the season. when they still had lots at stake. Earlier this season, it was a cold, damp, dreary night in Amherst, Massachusetts against Boston College. One terrible game, terrible performance by Miami in that game in the cold Northeast U.S. elements. That's a concern. They have a bad track record in the Northeast in these colder environment games, Miami. It's right there in black and white, all of it under Mark Richt. So what's going to change here for Miami in this game? That's the concern. However, this is not a vintage Wisconsin team. Wisconsin beat Miami last year in a much more prestigious bowl game, the Orange Bowl. So it's a revenge game for Miami here a little bit. This one, I just don't think this is a great Wisconsin team, and I do have concerns Jonathan Taylor won't be able to run the ball against his defense, and I've got concerns that on the flip side, I don't want to ask Miami to do anything for me in cold weather environments. So I lean Wisconsin, but it's a very, very tepid opinion at best.
Donnie, your connection okay?
I think it's coming back in there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good to go. You got anything Canes Badgers here?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing Miami's lucky that they're actually playing Wisconsin, because if there's one thing that Miami defense, which is a top 3 overall defense in the country, they are lights out. And you're going up against an offense that's dated back to the 1950s saying, we don't really throw the football, we can't throw the football, but we do have a power running back. That's right up Miami's style. I mean, they should be able to, I don't know if you're going to be able to shut down Wisconsin just because that's what they do and do well, but you'll be able to slow that offense. But I'm not betting a game where, I don't even know again, like this seems like just a bowl theme. Hey, look, Miami's playing. Well, who's their quarterback? We'll let you know when it starts. I just, how do you go into a football game and do that? Because I think if N'Kosi Perry plays and it's colder conditions, he's going to be able to run around and make plays with his feet, and the offense should move. If they throw Malik Rozier out there, he'll go 12 of 41 for 132 yards and 3 interceptions, and we'll all laugh at Mark Richt that he had to run Malik Rozier out there again. I don't know. It's one of those games where me and Jeff talked about it quite a few times already. Bowl season is better off live bets, right? Watch about 5 minutes of the game. Like, yep, he's playing. This team looks good. All right, let's get into it. Because betting into the unknown is the stupidest thing you could possibly do. And it looks like repeatedly in bowl season, that's all we're doing.
And that's a great point there, Donnie. I mean, I've noticed that a bunch of times this bowl season. Just watch the first drive from each team and make the bet. I would have done a lot better myself. What sports books do you recommend in doing that as far as live betting college football?
I mean, everybody pretty much now has a live platform in order to do that. But I know, like, we've turned on TV games and be like, damn, look at this quarterback balling out. I wasn't even sure he was going to play today. You don't get that really in the regular season because it just seems like college football beat writers hibernate as well. Like, they get 4 weeks from, like, the last time they played to a bowl game, and beat writers can't get one bit of information. They can't tell you, like, yes, this kid hasn't practiced 21 straight days. They somehow can't seem to tell you that in college football, which baffles me. And it'll be another one there. Hey, Malik Rozier's out there. We're going to send him off on a high note. Malik Rozier steps on that football field. You just auto-bet Wisconsin because you know Miami's going to have like 150 yards total of offense that day. That's the way it breaks it down for me, honestly.
And Donnie, is this N'Kosi Perry question? Is this like a Malik Rozier just being a senior? Or is this the whole like sex tape thing or him disciplinary?
No, the whole Malik Rozier is actually the luckiest guy I've ever seen in my life in college football at a major university because he's a terrible quarterback, but everybody around him is suspended every single week. So by default, hey man, I sucked last week. Looks like I'm back to 3rd on the depth chart. By Thursday, he's back up to number 1 because sex tapes and money pictures and kids skipping class. And then he goes out and sucks again Saturday, back to 3rd on the depth chart. Boy, but he's a really good kid and watch his film. And by next Friday, hey, he's number 1 again. Why? N'Kosi Perry's in trouble again. What a great life this kid lives.
I mean, he does not make mistakes. I mean, that's one of his things. I mean, I think some of the easiest things to do, Donnie, is not get into trouble. And Perry just seems to follow him. Could be lucky, that's true. I think one thing we both know is both these quarterbacks are not good. I mean, you look at more and more at this total, and you're saying, how does this total get to 47? I mean, both these defenses are great. The offenses suck. I mean, how many fucking games are we going to talk about that are the same profile? Shitty quarterbacks. You got totals in the 40s. Yeah, I mean, and that's the big problem nowadays. You would think in the information age that we're in, that you can literally, I mean, you can call someone in India right now on a phone and see their face as they talk to you. Yet, I can't get someone that works at Cal football to tell me who's playing in a bowl game tomorrow. When that's their only job. That's all you do.
You're a beat writer.
Around.
Help us out.
Yeah. I just don't, I mean, I don't understand how, like, inept some of these people are. It's like your job is to get information on the team, and that's all you do. Like when we handicap other sports, we do content, we do all sorts of different stuff. Their job, all they do is Minnesota football. They don't do Minnesota basketball. Oh, they might, but they have two teams with like 100 people total in it, and they can't find who's playing. It's one of the great, weird, amazing things. I don't know.
That's betting bowl season. It is volatile. And guys, the chat box is awesome. Appreciate you guys chiming in, trying to keep up here. We do have Kingsley saying the Bang Bros Bowl. That's a pretty good one there. And Billy Exotic saying, what's wrong with sex tapes? That's why I asked the question to Donnie. I wasn't sure if that was
what do you mean what's wrong with sex tapes?
Because I don't think it was even him. I just think he posted. I just think he like retweeted or posted one. I don't even think it was him.
He's a quarterback. That's why. He's a Miami quarterback, because you don't post that kind of stuff if you're a Miami quarterback. There are conduct policies and stuff like that. Why am I always pessimistic? Well, I'm giving the truth. I mean, if you don't want to hear it, Chris, maybe you shouldn't listen. But I'm trying to give you the truth here. I mean, am I wrong here, guys? With anything I'm saying about beat reporters, they stink. And Malik.
No, and the best part about using with Miami's the only college that used to have beat reporters. That single goal in life was to bury the program and find out traces of who got cars, when, where, and Bell Grant scams and all that stuff. So Miami does have a badge of honor. And there's one guy on ESPN right now that was part of burying his own university and has a great show right now. That's Dan Lebitard, the only school out there that you actually got prizes for burying your own football team that you covered.
Levitar, that is a good show down there in Miami. Guys, we got to get on to the NFL. We are kind of running out of time. And if you're liking the content, everyone out there, 250 people watching live right now, we really appreciate it. Please give us the thumbs up, the like button. And we got NFL coming up next. First 60 seconds of Cameron with some NHL betting news, man. Have at it.
Yeah, just very brief with the NHL. It's on Christmas break. It returns tomorrow. Tomorrow, Thursday, December 27th, regular season will resume. It's very fascinating to see how things are turning out. As I've said many times, teams that are starting to really play well. Boston Bruins really starting to play well. Look out for Boston now. They have Patrice Bergeron back as well. It's going to be a situation where he makes them so much better at both ends of the ice. There's no question. Boston's a team to watch out for. Tampa Bay. Let's see how they do. Tampa Bay won 11 of 12 games before the Christmas break, but now the break happens. They're red hot. They come out of the break. They play the Flyers tomorrow night, and then they play Montreal Saturday. Are Philly and Montreal maybe live dogs in that game? You're playing so well for such a long period of time. You come out of the break, you have a 3-day or 4-day layoff here in Tampa's case, and then you got to hit the ice after Christmas break. Can they maintain that momentum that they had before the break? Sometimes those teams that are rolling into a layoff, I like to bet against them coming out of the layoff. We'll see if Tampa Bay can withstand that.
And Ian, what's this World Junior Hockey Tournament? Is that a big thing to bet or no?
It's big in Canada. It's big in the European countries. They get into it a lot, but nobody gets into it more than Canada. It's like a Super Bowl. It's like a religious thing here. Everybody watches it if they're any sort of sports fan or hockey fan, and it starts today. The World Junior Hockey Championship. It's the best 17, 18, 19-year-old hockey players in the world, essentially, representing their countries. Canada's not the favorite in it this year, believe it or not. They might get a medal. It may not be gold. Finland looks great. Russia looks great. Czechs look great. The United States has a loaded team. I would honestly think those teams might even have a better chance than Canada, to be honest, of winning the gold this year. So very exciting tournament begins today. And, Canada goes gaga over it.
All right, guys, we got NFL up now. Big game here. I believe winner goes and loser goes home. Indianapolis, Tennessee. Indy minus 2.5, 44 the total. Limited marketplace here, guys. I'm finding that 2.5 only at Bet Online. Not much else available as far as the point spread goes in this game. Both teams 9-6. Donnie, how would you look to bet this elimination game here? Colts Titans?
Yeah, I think they're making it pretty easy for you, actually. If Marcus Mariota is going to be banged up or not playing, I can't see the sharp angle taking Blake Gabbert in a win-all situation versus Andrew Luck. Not happy with the way Indianapolis played last week, but the mettle of a good team is, look, down double digits, playoff life on the line. Let's settle in. Let's take a deep breath. Let's go out and get this victory over a team that's technically not as good as us, which the New York Giants weren't. They went out and handled their business. Now they live to fight another day, winner-take-all type of situation. In these games, what do you look forward to? You need a playmaker at quarterback. You need a guy that's going to be teeing it up for the rest of your squad in a big game. I don't want to hide behind Blake Gabbert and hope he can come to play, or I don't want to go say, you know what, Marcus Mariota is a real gamer here, but he can't feel his throwing arm. I don't want any part of that. This game pretty easy to me, and it looks like BetOnline, I believe, opened up at -3, but no other books out there seem to be laying the wood yet until they see what Marcus Mariota has to offer in this one. But right now, early in the week, before we see, it's a no-brainer. It's Indianapolis here.
All right, Indianapolis or pass for Donnie. At Babana, how are you looking to bet this one?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Indianapolis to me is the team. Which quarterbacks? It's probably going to be a close game. It's probably going to be a dogfight. Neither of these teams are good enough to truly just slaughter the other team and put them away. But if it's close late, who are you going to trust to make that play for you? Andrew Luck or the combo of Mariota or Gabbert? I'll tell you what, I'll take Andrew Luck in that spot every single week, and I'll do that here. I agree with what Donnie said about what do? Do you penalize Indy for playing as lackluster and sleepwalking through the first half against the Giants like they did, not playing good football on either side of the ball, letting Eli Manning basically torch them in the first half? Or do you salute the fact that they came back, they found a way to win that game, they dug in and just got the job done, found a way to win when they were down big, down double digits at one point in that game? I think you give them a lot of credit for coming back. I think that shows the sign of a resilient team, shows the sign of a well-coached team. Frank Reich made his adjustments at halftime, and the Giants' offense didn't do what they did in the first half. In the second half, it was a much bit different offense. The Colts' defense got after Eli Manning, and they turned that game around with their defense. Andrew Luck and the offense took care of the rest. Look, this game's in Tennessee. I understand that home field edge for them, but if you're Indianapolis, you shut down Dion Lewis and Derrick Henry, you're pretty good in this game, because I really don't get scared of the Tennessee passing game, and I think that's going to be the key for the Colts in this game. Yeah, I am probably right along with Donnie in looking at this game, and that if I'm betting it, I'm looking at the Colts. I'm just hoping the number doesn't get too carried away if Mariota's ruled out, because the money will flock toward the Colts if we hear Blaine Gabbert being the starter.
And Big Man, what are your final thoughts here on Indianapolis, Tennessee?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything everyone said. I mean, you got a great Colts run defense against, a team that, their goal is to run the football. Henry and those guys, I think Indy can shut it down. You wonder where Tennessee, they have another big injury, Jarrell Casey on the defensive line. Jarrell Casey has 7 sacks. He's been a real important part to that rush defense and that passing. Getting to the quarterback, sacking the quarterback, he's gone. You wonder who's going to be able to step up and fill his void. If you let Andrew Luck just sit back there and pick you apart, you have no chance, because they're not going to be able to keep up with Indianapolis. I think it's a bad and precarious situation for Tennessee. I couldn't care less who plays at quarterback, honestly. I mean, as the other guy said, Mariota's not going to be at full health anyway. This is a game where maybe he comes back a little early and really isn't effective anyway. Not worried about Blaine Gabbert either. Indy's been pretty good to me all season, other than last week. I'll lay it with them again here.
Guys, we got one more NFL game here. Chicago, Minnesota. The Vikings laying 5 at home, 41 the total. This is Chicago Bears team, 11-4 straight up and against the number. I guess Minnesota laying 5, kind of a little head scratching for me anyway. I guess they're 5-2 at home, something to play for. But Big Man, coming back at you, how would you look to bet Chicago, Minnesota?
Yeah, look, there's 2 scenarios here for both teams. The Bears can get a first-round bye, but the Rams would have to lose to Arizona, which is pretty unlikely. The Vikings, if they win, and the Eagles, I think if they win, they're in. It doesn't matter. As far as this, though, Donnie and I have talked about this on various different levels and times. I do not want Kirk Cousins in a big game. I just don't. He doesn't win big games. Find me a big game he's ever won, and I'll give you something for it. I don't know of any this year, and I don't know of any in his career that he's won. He's a hack, and he struggles in games like this. And he's facing a team that I just feel like no matter what the situation is, you're going to get a good effort out of this defense. We heard all last week about how the Bears were in a tough spot. They're traveling across the country. They're playing a hot team in the Niners. They shut them completely down on defense. It's a low-scoring game here. I think for Minnesota, it's going to be a tough time running the football. When they can't run the football, you make Kirk Cousins try to make decisions. He generally doesn't make them. And against an opportune defense that's full of guys that generate turnovers, I just don't have any interest in Kirk Cousins in a big game. Sorry. I think the Bears will beat the Vikings, and I think that will allow the Philadelphia Eagles to get into the playoffs with a win. Question is, can they do that? We'll have to see. But Bears still playing for something, even though it probably won't happen. I don't want Kirk Cousins in a big game. Sorry.
Okay. Fading Kirk Cousins there. And Ian, what about you? What are your thoughts, Chicago, Minnesota?
This is one of those classic Week 17 games where you're going to see the novice and the public bettor, Joe Square public say, oh, Minnesota laying 5 at home. Must-win game. They got to have this one. We got to be on Minnesota, right? Not so fast. I swear the last couple seasons, if you bet against the team that has to win the game, laying inflated points against a team with not so much to play about, the team with not so much to play for has gotten the job done more often than not in these big games. I remember a Kansas City Chargers game. I think the game meant everything to the Chargers, and KC ended up covering wire to wire as big dogs, and Chargers barely escaped with a win in a game the Chargers had to have. Those are the kind of situations here. If I'm betting this game, I'm on Chicago +5, plain and simple. This is a situation where with Kirk Cousins, you're right. Big game to get into the playoffs with Washington, 2 years ago? In that Monday Night Football game against Carolina. There was a game after that. He stunk too. He didn't play good at all. They lost both games. They didn't get in the playoffs. The one playoff start he had was against Green Bay in the wild card game. He was atrocious in that football game, completely shut down and swarmed under by that Packer defense in that game. He hasn't shown up in a big spot yet, and this is a big spot. This is probably the biggest spot of his career, or one of them, trying to get this Minnesota Viking team into the playoffs, and it's difficult for me to put my money behind him laying 5. I know Minnesota, they fired DeFilippo, Stefanski's taken over as the OC. They had a good game against Miami. Let's be honest, the Miami game was more Miami was in a brutal spot going on the road after a miracle win against New England that they went nuts celebrating that miraculous victory, and Minnesota just got the right team at the right time. Last week against Detroit, they are on their way, guys, last week against Detroit in that first half, to being in a dogfight throughout and maybe even losing that game straight up until a miracle Hail Mary pass at the end of the first half took place in a half that Kirk Cousins did absolutely nothing in prior to that point. A Hail Mary, lucky play, Rudolph in the end zone, Detroit's completely deflated, and Minnesota predictably runs away with the football game in the second half. If that Hail Mary doesn't happen, does Minnesota even win that football game the way they were playing in the first half? Because Cousins was terrible against that Detroit defense in the first half. And if that's the Kirk Cousins I see against one of the best defenses he's going to see all season long here in the Chicago Bears, I don't trust him laying 5. Give me the Bears +5.
The Bears +5. Donnie, conclusion in Chicago, Minnesota. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, Matt Nagy's fucking this all up, especially for Eagle fans right now. Because if you read the tea leaves, which Week 17 has nothing to do about X's and O's. It's about team preparation, getting your football team ready to play a football team and seeing how you can execute. If you're reading the Dallas Cowboys right now, Zeke Elliott's already out in front going, I don't give a shit what week this is. We're going to play. We're going to win. We're not benching anybody. And Jerry Jones, who calls the shots behind the scenes, is saying, absolutely, we're not taking the week off. So if you're looking at that football game, I'm just using this as a background. Dallas is coming to play the New York Giants and expecting to win a football game. You know what Matt Nagy's saying right now? Hey, guys, we got a contingency plan in place in case the Rams are up a little bit. You can't do that to your football team because they're already checking out.
When did he say that?
You have. Hold on. It's already been out there. Already out there. Contingency plan in place in case the Rams are winning that football game. So there's only one way. If you want the Chicago Bears in this football game, you are an idiot to bet it full game. You should only be betting first half when you know the starter's going to be out there going mano a mano and probably catching 3 in the first half on an evenly played game. Do you want to bet a football team like the Chicago Bears if the Rams are up 21 points in the third quarter of their football game and this game is tied up at 14-14 in the third and the Bears run the parade of backups out there and the Minnesota Vikings just roll when you could have had that? You can't touch the Chicago Bears with a 25-foot pole in this football game when their coach is already talking contingency plan. We've all worked at various companies. How about if your boss comes in and says, nobody's leaving till 7 o'clock tomorrow on Christmas Eve? You're already ready for it to stay till 7 o'clock. But what happens if your boss goes, hey, guys, we'll play it by ear tomorrow. You know what you're thinking as a worker? I'm out of here at 2 o'clock tomorrow. And if you stay past 2 o'clock, you've already checked out anyway. Matt Nagy is fucking this up if you wanted to take the Bears. First half only for the Bears. If you play the Bears full game, don't be mad when your money separates from your wallet here. Just the way it is.
That's a great point. I mean, that I hadn't even heard of that. So what you said, that's a bad job by Nate. You can't do that. You can't give your players that ability to basically check out and do all that. It's bad.
But he never said it. That's
bad culture to
Yes,
develop.
he did say it. That is an actual quote from
No,
a press conference out there. We have a
I didn't see that
contingency plan in place in case they're losing. We are going to do that. They've already checked that because you know what that also means as well? Anybody with a nick or a bump for the Chicago Bears this weekend, they're not playing because it doesn't mean that much for them. It's a long shot to get a bye. They are going to be scoreboard watching. Matt Nagy's going to have one eye on the field and one on the scoreboard that if he sees it's not worth it and there's a 2-touchdown lead for the Rams in the fourth quarter, he's pulling his starters out, and then there go the Vikings. Bip, win by a touchdown. It's a wrap. It's out there. I watched it live at a press conference. It's out there.
I'm seeing what we're not in that position.
Playing at this one.
Okay, are you going to let me talk, or are you going to keep talking?
Well, you're saying it's not out there when that's the whole basis of it.
I believe it's out there.
I'm seeing it right here.
Why would Donnie make it up?
Then find the article and post it, please, because I'm not seeing it. All
I'm
seeing
is I'm not finding an article and posting it live on the air. I'm sorry.
I'm sure he heard it. Why would Donnie make up that Nagy said?
Why would I make that up? Why would I make that up?
Well, because he does that. He always says that teams aren't going to play hard. Or I'm seeing. Here's what I'm seeing. But we're not in that position, so we have to play to win, and I kind of like that. I don't mind that at all, and I think we're the kind of guys that like it. It's just that kind of keeps you to get in the game. I'm not seeing any. We have a contingency. I didn't see that.
Yep. There's a contingency plan in place. And once you tell any worker that, he's out the box. Like, you know what? We got to go on the road. Man, you know what? Oh, we're down a touchdown. You know what, coach? Raise this flag here, man. Let's get back.
So nobody gives the San Francisco 49ers a chance against the LA Rams on Sunday? Nobody?
No, different, though. They're not resting starters, though. Like, there's no chance the 49ers are pulling their starters in that football game. That's the difference.
Yeah, there is a big difference there. Donnie, great stuff, man. Great way to end the analysis there, man. Fired up. I like it. And I believe it.
Week 17 is awesome, man. Week 17, you actually have to just say, you know what? Sometimes, X and O's really matter. But if you're going to go into a football game like, man, I can't wait, and all of a sudden they go, wait a second, he's only going to play the first. That's why there's no line on the New Orleans game, because Sean Payton is saying, we play everybody every week. That's why there's nothing on that New Orleans game, because you want to make sure that Sean Payton leaks something out there like, hey, Drew Brees is only playing the first half. If Drew Brees is only playing the first half and that line opens up New Orleans -3 and it comes out, our starters are playing the entire game, then you steal a victory with ease.
One last point about this, and all this is a great discussion because this is week 17. It is the most unique week of the season from a handicapping perspective in the NFL. You have to handicap it like preseason. You have to get information. It's information. You're betting information. You're not betting teams. You're not betting opinions. You're not betting Team A is better than Team B. You're betting information and actual quotes that say, these guys are playing this much. We care about the game. We don't care about the game. We're going to do this. As Donnie mentioned, maybe there's something going on with Matt Nagy, maybe pulling guys if the Rams are beaten up on the 49ers on Sunday. It's all about information. That's what your wagers in Week 17 should be based on. It shouldn't be, oh, Minnesota's better than Chicago. Oh, Philadelphia is better than Washington. No, it's going to be information. That's where you're going to make your money in Week 17.
And Donnie, is this game your best bet, Chicago, Minnesota, or no?
No, it's not. No, I have another one. I'm going to use that same type of principles on. With early in the week, I think it's a really strong one, so I'll save that one for later.
All right. Interested in that, but what is your bet on Chicago, Minnesota? Have you made a personal bet yet?
No, I haven't made it yet, but it's the same exact one. I think Minnesota's going to win this football game because Chicago doesn't really need it, and you're getting under a touchdown. I think they'll roll, and then you get that second added thing just in case the Rams are up, and then you might get the starters pulled. But I do think the Bears are going to come into this football game. It is football. I mean, it is football. You line up as soon as the ball kicks. These guys are going to go 100 miles an hour. But it's one of those games where if the Bears are up 3-0, 7-3, 10-7 in the first half, you might say, Coach, don't pull this plug on us right now. Don't pull this plug. We can beat them right now, and that's the way it is. That could happen, but I would only look. If I'm taking the Bears, it's first half or nothing in this football game.
First half or nothing. I like it, guys. Hey, guys, final best bets here. We got to go around the horn. And any last thoughts, with the roundtable as we're ending it? We do have 6 minutes. Not sure if we can push it on that, it being the last show, but anyway, big man, if you want to start us off, follow him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. He's the big man on campus. Best bets, final thoughts, big man?
Yeah, I think this show just showed why. Again, I'm not sure why this show's going away. I'll continue to say it till I'm blue in the face. I don't make the decisions, unfortunately, so I have no say in it. But I'm going to try to continue this show in some kind of capacity. I think the 4 people that are on here are, I think whether it's controversy or debating or whatever, there's a need with this, and I don't think anyone really does it in this space. So the fact that it's once a week, it should be continuing, and that's the truth. As far as for me, I'm going to go to something that I think just works. I'm going to go to a game that really has no playoff scenarios. I don't have to worry about who plays and who doesn't. Atlanta, Tampa, I'm going over 51.5. Both these teams, I mean, they just scream over to me. I think, you kind of just be throwing it around, going nuts as usual with these two. Matt Ryan has had a good year, to be honest. They've kind of gotten away all year from running the football, to be honest. Tampa Bay, we know what they're all about defensively. They don't have anything. I know the game is outside, but I'm going to guess in Florida it's probably decent weather. Barring any bad weather, I'm going over 51.5. Very simple. And that's that.
All right, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, over 51.5 for Big Man on Campus. You can follow him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. Ian Cameron, follow him on Twitter at Babano. Ian, any last thoughts on the roundtable and your best bet, man?
Yeah, I like Jeff's best bet. It's 2 teams going nowhere, season over, good offenses, no defenses. Roll the football out and just score some points and have some fun. That makes some sense to me, Falcons and Bucks. But this show, yes, will be missed. Absolutely it will. I'd be happy to pick it up in some other form. But yeah, in terms of what is done here at SBR, it's been great. It's been phenomenal. Drew, Jeff, Donnie, all of you, you're all good friends of mine now. We've been together long enough that you're all friends, not just colleagues. It's been fun. We have great banter, great discussion, great thoughts, great information being brought to the table weekly with this show. Lots of laughs too, lots of smiles and chuckles. Got to have that on this show too from time to time, and we've definitely had that. Great debate. I mean, I'm going to miss Jeff and Donnie going at each other's throats for that weekly argument that sometimes breaks out between them. But hey, I mean, it's going to be missed this show, but it's been a pleasure working with all 3 of you, and looking forward to still doing some stuff with all of you down the road. Best bet, final one. We got to make it count, right? Final best bet for me. We're going to go to one of the bowl games tomorrow, one of the ones we didn't talk about, Duke Temple. We've got Temple laying 3.5 in this game. I've got real concerns, and I've been really digging into this game, real concerns with Temple and their mindset going into this game. Jeff Collins has taken off. He's no longer the head coach. That's a problem. You're seeing the players not necessarily behind what's going on in terms of where this team's going moving forward. Obviously, coaching changes. Ed Foley's now the interim coach for Temple into this game. Here's a quote to me that really stuck out. It's from the Temple tight end. I know Jeff Collins is from Georgia. He figured this was his dream job, going to Georgia Tech. Can't hate him for it, but this stinks. It's a part of life. The fact that he threw in "this stinks," that's bad. That's bet against all over it, in my opinion, from this Temple, from a mindset perspective, that they're not very pleased that Jeff Collins took off. It's a guy that, they did play hard for. They played well, and it was a good season for Temple. Let's not forget, 2 years ago, they were in this same spot, this very program, Temple. 2016, Matt Rule bolted for the Baylor job. How did they respond in their Baylor game, in the bowl game? They didn't respond. They got blown out as 11-point favorites against Wake Forest. They were 11-point favorites in that game. They lost outright against Wake Forest. This has negative mindset written all over it for this Temple team. Now, I know better than anyone how Duke struggled late in the season. That they got blown out by Wake. Actually, I was on Wake in that game against Duke, that season finale. But you give Duke a chance to hit the reset button. A few weeks off after the tough end of the season. They didn't play well down the stretch. David Cutcliffe will get the team motivated. He's 4-0 against the spread in his last 4 bowl games. The 2 losses were slim margins. The offense is going to get going. Duke has scored 31 or more points in each of their last 5 bowl games. I know Daniel Jones and the offense sputtered late in the season, but you talk about the Temple quote. Here's a good Duke quote from the senior wide receiver talking about this game, Jonathan Lloyd. We don't expect to lose 3 in a row. We don't expect it. We definitely have to win to turn it around, to fix it, and to get this program where it needs to be. That's a quote right there. We want to win this bowl game. David Cutcliffe's had a track record of success in bowl games. Duke's been a great underdog this season. Yeah, give me Duke plus 3.5, best bet in the Independence Bowl on Thursday.
All right, I like that, Betty, and I almost went with it as well. And remember, Cutcliffe, you can even go further with his bowl record because one of the worst beats of really all time was that Cincinnati bowl game where that turnover happened and Duke ended up losing. It's one of the highlight reels on SBR's bad beat segment. That was with Cutcliffe coaching as well in a Duke game, so you could almost add that one in. Donnie, follow him on Twitter at RightSideVP. Mainstay here, one of the best personalities out there in the industry. Donnie, final thoughts, best bet, man.
Yeah, here's what we're going to take a look at a 1 o'clock game, 301, 302, which is Dallas and the New York Giants. But we're not going to go with a full game wager here. I think everything's going to be said right early in the week for the Dallas Cowboys and playing most of their starters. Should they play Zach Martin in this football game? I don't think so. They might even sit Tyron Smith. But as long as we can get a full half of Ezekiel Elliott and possibly Dak Prescott in this game, I think you're getting a steal. There's no line set out right now for the first half just yet, even though most of the games across the board have that. Currently sitting at 6 right now, so you would think of what? Maybe 3.5, maybe even 4 points in that range for the Dallas Cowboys. Similar to my thoughts on that Minnesota Vikings game. I think Dallas will have a mindset of, let's go. Look, we don't have a bye week, but we don't want to get rusty. Let's go out and have a first half. And again, Odell Beckham not practicing again today. I would be hard-pressed to think that they run Odell Beckham out in a meaningless football game just because it's the Dallas Cowboys and they want to get a win or whatever that would mean for the end of the season. So I still think he's going to sit in this one, but I think you might get an honest effort out of the Dallas Cowboys. And if both teams were equal in this game, I think we can both honestly say it's not going to be a -6 for the New York Giants under any circumstances in this game. So you might have to delay this bet a little bit, but if you can get 3.5 in this Dallas Cowboys game on Sunday for just the first half alone, I think Dallas will be game. I think the game will be close. I think Dallas will be winning at the half. And then you send that parade to the sideline there in the second half, and you don't worry about the final score in this one. I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys in the first half, but again, won't be able to place that wager just yet until those first lines are released. As long as you're getting 3.5 with the Dallas Cowboys and they're playing Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott's going to start, I think it's a solid bet for the first half, taking the value there.
Okay, so just to go on record, Donnie, you like the Cowboys plus 3.5?
I'm just extrapolating what the line is probably going to be since it's not out there yet, but that would be one of my better plays as long as they don't say we're benching everybody. It's hard to do it in Week 17 in the NFL in some of these football games, but from what I'm reading here early on a Wednesday, I think the Cowboys give an honest effort in the first half, and I think you get a lot of value with them in this situation.
All right, good stuff, Donnie. I'll end it here with Wisconsin plus 3, pretty much just fading this Miami Hurricanes team. We talked about it briefly. I doubt you can find 10 guys on the whole Miami roster that have put on helmet and shoulder pads in 35-degree weather. Keep in mind, Miami pretty much only actively recruits from Orlando South. They will take other guys, but they're not spending the money to send the assistant coaches up there. So it's pretty much all Broward, Dade, Palm Beach, Monroe counties as far as their players go, and it doesn't really get into the 30s during football season down here in South Florida. So fading that aspect and taking the Badgers plus 3 in the New York Bowl there, the New Era Pinstripe Bowl. Big man, you were typing in a little something in there. Did you want to throw anything out before we shut this down? Oh, I can't hear you, man.
Oh, he's at the mic.
He's already shut down.
As everyone, as they say, that's a wrap. I'm fucking beaten up about this. I love this show. It was one of the fucking original shows here, and it pisses me off. And I don't care. I know people are probably in their heads right now thinking, uh-oh, here he goes. Yeah, I am going. Because no, it's not funny. This is a good show with a lot of great info and a lot of people that want to see this show every week. It's an hour long. That's it. I'm going to keep this going under some situation. I just got to figure it out. It was
one of the longest tenured shows on SBR. One of the longest tenured, no doubt about it. Maybe the longest tenured show, because it's over 2 years we've had this going. And, to see it end, it's definitely a bittersweet day.
Thanks, Drew.
Absolutely.
Good job, host.
Oh, well, thank you, Drew. Big man. Awesome analysis. Ian, great. Donnie, you always great. Guys, it has been such a pleasure working with you guys. I hope to keep it going in some form or fashion, like you were saying, Big man. I'm guessing Ian and Donnie would be up for it as well, guys.
Yes, absolutely.
I will.
All right, guys. Well, I don't know. Hopefully, some way, some fashion, we can keep it going. Everybody out there, appreciate you tuning in to run down the best bets. Wisconsin plus 3 for me. Donnie, Dallas plus 3.5. Ian, Duke plus 3.5, and Jeff, Atlanta, Tampa Bay over 51.5. Hopefully, a 3-1, 4-0 best bet to end it for the roundtable. Thank you, SBR, for the platform to do this show. And guys, for Ian, Donnie, Jeff, I'm Drew Martin. Thanks for tuning in, and best of luck with your bets.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.